Awesome. We're live. What is up, everybody? Kevin here with Snowboard Pro Camp. And today I get a chance to talk to Ryan Knapton. Ryan, he's an amazing carver, butterer, lives in Breckenridge, Colorado, and just one of the coolest and best snowboarders and most humble snowboarders I know. So, Ryan, man, thanks for jumping on with us.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
Yeah, no worries. Just to start, how's the quarantine life been? How you've been doing? I know normally at this time, we'd both be snowboarding, maybe even down snowboarding with you at this point. But yeah, how's the last month been without snowboarding, man?
I so wish you were down here snowboarding, but yeah, as soon as Breck announced that they were closing, Kristen, it was over the weekend, and the last couple of days were kind of weird. They had you doing social distancing on the resort, so you weren't you would have to stand away from other groups, and even if you were a single,
Yep.
you would have to ride up the chairlift by yourself just so that they were doing their social distancing. So good job on Vail Resorts for giving it their best and trying to stay open, but then the governor announced that they were going to close the resort, so that wasn't even their decision. But they were doing it well, but yeah, I just wish the resorts were still open because I so want to be shredding versus just. So as soon as that happened, we packed up. My girlfriend lives down here in Denver.
Yep.
She works at UMass. She has a good job down here, so she can't really move up to the mountains right now. But so yeah, just moved down here for about the first 2 weeks. I didn't do anything. Just was no, why? I had so much on my schedule planned for all these video ideas, collaborations with YouTubers and other snowboarders, and video projects that I had all kind of in my brain ready to go. And the spring's the perfect time to shoot them because that's when it's less busy other than spring break. And then all of a sudden it was shut down. So I just feel like that second half of this season was stolen from me because last year I had 170 days. This year I think I had 80 or something. So pretty disappointing, but whatever. Things could be worse.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I didn't know that Breckenridge actually put in some quarantine measures towards the end. What was that like? Were the slopes quieter? Was it better for you for carving?
They actually were quieter the last handful of days. So even with that, because I was why the hell is only one person going on these chairlifts? So there was a lift line, but not terrible, not peak spring break or winter break type of lift lines. But so even getting on the gondola, if you were by yourself, you were riding the gondola by yourself. So unless you were with your immediate family or whatever, then those were the only groups that could go up it. But yeah, at the end of the year, conditions were still amazing, and I'm still sure they would be pretty amazing right now, even. But
Wow, yeah, darn. It's crazy to think end of the year, because normally for the end of the year for us is end of April, sometime in May. So we've had a really early shutdown to our season. Is there any chance? Do you know? Have you heard anything through the grapevine that Breck would open, or any other resorts in Colorado, the chance of anywhere opening back up?
Well, Breck on their website was saying maybe May. They maybe would do their extended season, which is now May and even into June. A Basin, usually I'm snowboarding there even into June or potentially July. And I haven't seen that they're reopening plans of it, but you'd have to, they're obviously just doing a day-by-day assessment, and if they can open, they'll open. But so I'm crossing my fingers, but oh well.
Yeah, definitely. And you also have your backup hobby is doing the foosball. If people don't know, you're also a competitive foosball player, and not just as a hobby, but at the top levels in the world. So have you been doing more foosballing since quarantine has kicked in?
I have dived so heavily back into foosball. It's something that I always practice every day. I'm practicing something, but now instead of 15 minutes or an hour, it's 6 hours a day. It's intense practice. I'm literally getting ready for, I want to be at a very high level by 2024. So I'm giving myself a long game on this. It's not something you can get insanely good at overnight. It takes years and years and years. And so when I originally got good, I was watching all the DVDs of Inside Foos, and that shows all the matches from the big tournaments, the World Championships, Nationals, all that. And it's just studying the top players and modeling your game after some of the top players, and then you add in your own intricacies over time. But yeah, so there's my foosball table. If you see that in the background.
Sick,
so
man.
Hours and hours a night on that, and I keep telling myself, all right, this week I'm going to start making YouTube tutorials. I have a YouTube foosball channel, Next Level Foosball, and I want to get back into making tutorials for that, because just doing those, it actually helps a lot making snowboard videos then, because you go through the editing process and all that, and just work out the kinks and get better sitting in front of the camera and talking. So
yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, it's all about practice, like getting out there, doing it. Like that's an amazing that you have that whole second like passion, and you're doing it at a high level too, so that you can pass on that knowledge. But yeah, if anybody wants to check out Ryan's YouTube channel for snowboarding, I've already got it linked in the description. Maybe check it out after this interview. But we'll also, I'll put your foosball link down there as well, because I've checked out a few of your foosball videos in the past, and they were incredible, man. Like I didn't even know there was foosballing at that level. So
yeah, it's crazy. So if anyone's super bored and interested in foosball during this quarantine, there's just a recent movie came out. It's called Foosballers. And yeah, Kristen and I just watched it, and it was done amazing. It's a ton of our friends in it, and they're all the top of the top. And
wow.
And yeah, I'll show you some of Kristen's trophies here. Hopefully she doesn't. Those are basically all hers. Most of mine are in Breckenridge.
Oh,
Here's
cool.
a couple more of hers. She made a snowboard with a custom snowboard with this graphic.
Nice.
Colorado ones. Here's a foosball bash one. Here's some Nebraska State Championship trophies.
Wow.
And here's a super cool clock that she made me for Christmas a couple years ago.
Sick. Awesome, man. So your girlfriend's also a competitive foosballer.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's
cool.
Plays the game smarter than me. My execution is, since I practice so much, is gnarly, but she's actually a smarter player than me. And
wow.
yeah, she's a couple years ago, she was the women's expert singles world champion. So
wow.
And so yeah, she's way good. I'm ranked as an expert in singles and pro in doubles. So someday I'd like to get the pro master ranking, but that's going to be a couple years off. It doesn't happen overnight.
That's amazing, man. Where can people find that movie? What was the name of it again?
Foosballers. Yep. If you Google it, and it'll just show up. I know it's on Apple and other platforms.
Nice, man. Speaking of like competitiveness at a high level, have you seen the new Chicago Bulls documentary? It's called The Last Dance.
I have not. I don't watch too much sports, but
okay.
I know, is that the Michael Jordan one? I heard that there's a Michael Jordan one coming out, and that seemed super interesting.
Yeah, it's all about Michael Jordan and the Bulls, and kind of it's just interesting hearing you talk about doing like a 4-year plan to get to that next level of competitiveness, because I feel like across all sports that's a theme where you start to build your skills, and that maybe not year 1 you might not be there, but by year 4 or year 5, then you have that plan of attaining a goal. So that's really cool. Is there any like contests or competitiveness coming up in those 4 years that you want to achieve?
So in the foosball world, as of right now, everything's just came to a grinding halt. So it'll be interesting if they're even able to do Colorado State. Usually they do that in October or early November, and it'll be awesome if they're able to reopen enough to be able to have a gathering like that, because that's one of the biggest state tournaments. Colorado is a mecca for foosball, and that's like just a huge tournament.
Wow.
So hopefully they open up by that. But basically every year, Kristen and I do Texas State Championships. I don't do Hall of Fame Classic or Worlds anymore. They're just when I was an amateur, those were perfect because I could go to those. One year, 2008, I think it was, I was simultaneously the amateur world champion, amateur Hall of Fame champion, amateur national champion, and it won 4 tables through that year, because that's an amateur. They often, top prize is usually a brand new foosball table. So slaughtered it when I was like in the lower brackets. But once you get to higher brackets, it just becomes a lot harder. I know some people who spent, one of my friends, Robin Adcock, he had once said he had spent like, when he became this semi-pro singles world champion. He had spent like $40,000 on hitting all these tourneys and stuff. So I don't want to go broke doing it. So for me,
Wow.
last time I went to Worlds, I'd cashed in, I think, 5 events, and I basically came out ahead a couple $100 because each big tournament, you got flights, hotels, entry fees, food, but all that, and so you're spending quite a bit per tournament. So
Wow.
I have access to a ton of the great players. So even in Breckenridge, Garrett Schirkenbach, he's one of the historic, he'll be in the Hall of Fame eventually. He turned pro when he was a teenager, and now he's about retirement age. So I think I've talked him into playing the 2024 World Championships with me. So he's joked about, I'll be kind of old by then, but yeah, he's got, all that experience already being in those situations, already winning. He was in the heyday of Foos when they were giving out vehicles for playing, and he's won vehicles, even
Wow.
trucks, playing foosball. So that's a great little hobby. And like you said, during this quarantine time, I'm just digging in hard. So I'm going back to all the old foosball videos, watching them in slow motion, and this time not from an offense perspective, from a defensive perspective. What are they doing? What's the defenders doing while they have the ball in this position or that position, and how are they getting their blocks? What's their motions? So I'm just studying it in kind of a new way than I did when I originally got good at foosball.
That's amazing, man. I feel like a lot of like snowboarders or people doing things at a high level, there's always these things in the background that are possibly like helping them achieve those things. And I feel like, I don't know if maybe you agree with this, but that like the foosball training with the hand-eye coordination, those like quick reaction times, that must have like translated into your snowboarding style with the carving and the butters. So I feel like it's kind of neat, like seeing or hearing about your story with foosball, because it almost gives like people an insight also into your riding and like where all those things come from. Because I feel like anybody that's seen you snowboard can see that there's like all these micro adjustments and things happening in a split second that create that carve or that butter. So do you find that foosball has translated into snowboarding? And I'm just curious.
Absolutely.
I'm curious too. Did you move to Colorado for the snowboarding or for foosball? Because you said that Colorado is a big destination for foosball as well.
Definitely 100% moved to Colorado for snowboarding. Okay. I did not. I didn't start foosing until I was in college.
Cool.
But yeah, moved out to Colorado. But the point, like, does foosball help snowboarding? In the same way that I broke down snowboarding when I was, a bored young kid from the time of 10 to 17. Every snowboard video I'd have, or every time it was on ESPN, everything, I'd have it recorded. And every trick that I liked, I would frame by frame watch how they took off, what edge they were on, how they would land, where their head was, and then I'd go out on the backyard trampoline and try to replicate those spins and those maneuvers, and then when on snow, try to just use those same edges and stuff. So, and then for foosball, same thing. I just would I've kind of modeled my game after Billy Pappas, and then so stick wall, stick lane series, and then just slow motion every frame by frame. Where's the ball leaving from? How's he set it up? Where's his main passing holes? And how's he able to just repeat that over and over and read the defense, right, to be able to execute at such a high level. So, wow. And snowboarding, same thing. So quarantine time, this is a perfect time to break down snowboarding. For me, I hate watching snowboarding now when I can't actually be snowboarding. But so even there's a high level ski coach, Bracers, and he on Instagram, he recently did a breakdown of my turns, one single heel side turn. He broke it down beautifully, and he sent me the footage, so I'll release that on YouTube eventually. But again, I'm just like, I hate trying to sit in front of my computer in the editing software and trying to edit right now because I can't actually be snowboarding. And obviously some people are doing some backcountry type stuff. I talked with my good friend Jeff Meyer, and we were like, I don't know if it's a good time to put any potential extra stress on the healthcare system. I mean, what if you get hurt or something? If you have to go in the emergency room or something, it's just not really the time for that. So I've just been in quarantine mode.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've had the same thought. Like, it's very tempting to, hike up the mountain, and there's lots of good snow up there still. But yeah, just the risk of something going wrong with yourself, or, you have a lot of people watching you. So influencing other people to get up there too. It's a good example just to lay low at the moment. But also, I love what you're talking about with the dissecting the riding and everything with video, because like I feel like for myself, and you may feel the same way, is that by having this opportunity to be filmed and to film, you start to like watch things back, and you see stuff in your own riding or stuff in other people's riding, those movements or foot placement, where somebody's hands are in a trick, all those things that come together. I remember when I first discovered your videos, and if you guys haven't yet checked out Ryan Knapton's videos, you got to go check them out. They're like one of a kind. They're like so special. But when I first started seeing your videos, it was like watching them and just like looking to see what you were doing, because you're doing such unique things. And I think that probably gives a lot of people inspiration for carving and for getting butters. You've definitely helped me up my butter game, just watching all your different nose rolls and crazy buttering techniques. But has that been something that you found that has helped you through these, like, say, last 7 or 8 years doing the YouTube thing, just watching yourself back? Has it given you some like growth?
100% for sure.
Wow.
I mean, I've even taken my switch riding for years and years and years. I want to ride switch literally just as good as I can regular. So once in a while, I'll take a good video clip of my switch riding, and I'll flip it in the editing software and then compare, because I've seen so much of my own footage during editing. So then watching that footage with how it looks, how I'd normally be, and then compare, like analyzing that, and that's helped so much that it's insane. This last season was the first. Previous seasons I had tried switch stance, heel side layouts, and could never make it happen. And that was one of the things in the video. I could just see some of my body motions weren't entering the turn right, and yeah, so just through that alone, one specific trick on that's one tiny example, but yeah, just from my own analysis of watching the vids. That's and YouTube. With YouTube, it's easier and better than ever now, because you literally have that little option in the bottom, that settings, and you can go to playback speed and go back to quarter speed or half speed or 0.75 speed. So a lot of videos I'll watch in 2 times speed, just so they're, if I'm watching get in the mode of watching a ton of YouTube snowboard vids, and then as soon as there's a trick that I don't understand, I'm going back and watching it in slow motion and seeing exactly how it's done.
Awesome, man. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like doing stuff switch is a good example, because you can feel it out for yourself, like in the moment, but sometimes you get stuck, and you know that you can feel it a certain way, and you know how it should feel, but then as soon as you see yourself and you're like, oh, I'm not bending this knee enough, or I'm not bending that knee, or my turn shape isn't the right depth, or too shallow. So by having it on film, you can just definitely make all those tweaks and then see it for yourself. So anyone out there, if you're interested in improving your riding, definitely hook up with a filming partner and film a few laps. It gives you lots of insights. So
yep. And it's easier than ever now. I mean, GoPros aren't too much. The Insta360s aren't too much. In any of those video cameras are so cheap compared to what they used to be in good quality. So it's easier than ever. And then my other recommendation with it, if you have a GoPro or taping on the hill, don't do it all day. Like, actually work on your own riding and then tape what you think is your best riding, and then just analyze that. But sometimes you see people GoProing, filming themselves with that big old selfie stick all day, every day. Yeah. That's not going to help with snowboarding.
Yeah, definitely, because then you start to all your tricks, your riding adapts around holding the stick, so that can be difficult. But yeah, my plan is usually like ride most of the day, and then the last couple laps get a few on film. when I'm really feeling like at the peak. And so and then that way you can enjoy it too, because
Absolutely.
filming is really fun, but it's also fun just to ride with friends. But yeah, how's this season been for you? Because I know you've been putting up a lot of those ABCs of snowboarding.
Yep.
Yeah, how is that process? And yeah, what were you focusing on with that series? Where was it leading you?
With no particular order of the videos, I literally just wanted to work through the alphabet and just think of random things to talk about in regards to snowboarding. No idea what I'll do when I come up to Z's and Y's and other things, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's super fun making those. I love making videos when I have an idea for a series, and yeah, I'm just bummed that I have one more of those actually that I could edit up and release, but I'll probably wait till the fall at this point.
Cool.
But
yeah, there's something about like when you're putting up snowboard videos, knowing that when you're putting it up, people then can take that and then go and use it. And at the moment, because everyone's, all the resorts are closed, everyone's in lockdown, nobody can use that advice. So yeah, I think that's a good call. Just like save it for the fall when everyone's getting really amped up for riding. But in the past couple of years, you've done the camps as well at High Cascade. Do you have any plans at Mount Hood? Do you have any plans for a camp this year?
I don't think so. I haven't actually chatted with my partners about that yet. I should probably have done that by now, but I think it's just too questionable. I'll be traveling right now. So,
yeah.
And right before this even, I was hanging out with people from Italy right when they started taking off, China or Japan. That's where maybe you can see the snowboards. I had just gotten those back from, I think it was the Japanese border cross coach had borrowed some, and I delivered them to him. So I was just hanging out with people that were from places where it was taking off, and I don't know. So I just wanted to self-quarantine myself anyways, but I don't know.
It's hard to plan at the moment for the future. So I feel like, my plans too for the summer, everything is up in the air. Like it's hard to like tell people, oh, let's commit to this or, buy this program where it's really up in the air. Especially, I feel like for you too, you have, people that watch you from all over the world. I know whenever I meet people who watch a channel, the person they bring up the most is definitely you. They always ask like, oh, like when are you doing another video with Ryan Knapton, or like, have you met Ryan Knapton? So it's pretty cool. A lot of people around the world like love carving. I think a lot of people in China as well. I feel like if you ever someday we have to go to China together, and I feel like you have like a serious amount of like carving fans over in China. So that could be a fun journey one day if you're down.
I'm looking forward to it. It sounds a bit overwhelming. Like I'm kind of I'm a pretty introverted person, so I like my own little routine and stuff. But someday I'd definitely like to go to China, South Korea, Russia. I want to explore the world someday. But and on the topic of exploring, I mean, you've had awesome experiences going across the world. But when I used to compete, like I literally used to hate going from Breckenridge and Colorado and riding like an amazing half pipe at Beaver Creek, Breckenridge and Vail, and then go to like the East Coast or some other resorts that didn't have a good half pipe when you're competing in that. And I was just like, why did I travel all this way for like a shitty half pipe?
Right. So
with carving now, it opened it up more where, any resort I can go do my thing at this point. So someday I definitely want to do some traveling. Hopefully Kristen can come too.
Yeah, that'd be great. But yeah, when the time is right, it'd be great to get that opportunity, because I know, just from whenever I travel, your name always comes up. So someday whenever is good, it'll be a great experience. But yeah, at the same time too, like your board's behind you. I feel like a lot of people know that you ride a Donek board and you have your own pro model, the Ryan Knapton Pro. What can you tell us about Donek snowboards? Because I feel like for people out there that carve and are into that style of riding, that's your board of choice, and you're one of the best carvers I know in the world. So what do you have to tell people about Donek? Like, what makes, like when you put make your pro model, what are you looking for that makes it like the perfect carving board for you?
All right, so I cannot thank Donek Snowboards enough for building me my dream boards over and over, and that keeps changing. So
Nice.
I was thinking about this earlier today, like the snowboards that were perfect for me when I was 16, 17, 20, and 30, and it's not the perfect snowboard for me now because I'm doing different stuff. So with carving, if you imagine, racers who are using hard boots, super skinny boards, but they just go super high up edge angles. So us as freestyle snowboarders, we're basically duck-footed to some extent, and but those guys are on much narrower boards and just increase their angles so much that they don't have toe or heel overhang. For freestyle snowboards, often it's easier to ride if it's a narrow, if you have some overhang of your toes or heels, because you can get more leverage on that edge. But if you want to start doing super high edge angles, where's my little JP Walker Huck doll? Oh shoot, I should have busted him up. But if you want to go super high edge angles, then you drag your bindings, heels, cups, or the heel of the boot, or more likely even the toes. So we just built, for me specifically, just wider boards, and then with the beautiful thing with Donek snowboards, you can customize your own specs. So my model, it's a stiffer model. In general, we recommend a slightly larger side cut radius. It's stiffer than your normal, especially any rocker boards and stuff. So it's not going to get start waving when you at speeds and carving. The nose and tail aren't going to start going.
Yep.
And then a shorter nose and tail, slightly inspired by some of the race boards. And but yeah, all in any of their boards in their lineup, you can customize to your exact specs. So the very last board that I had, I wanted my pivot point, balance point from my binding to my nose to be just slightly less to make me be able to balance over the nose and tail a little easier. And so they're able to build my exact. They just built it exactly 1 centimeter shorter. So their software, the owner puts in all the parameters for yours, and then the CNC machines cut it out to that, and then the team assembles the board just like a normal snowboard process at that point. And they've been just so awesome to work with. Because I remember when I first started, getting into more carving and less park riding. That's when I started to drag my toes, and I was like, man, eventually I'll want like a board I want this exact board, but I want it just 2 centimeters wider, or 1 centimeter wider. At one point I was thinking, when I was riding the Burton Customs, I was like, man, I just want it to be like 26.8 wide. I think that would be wide enough. And now I've gone way, way wider than that. But that's the good thing. You can grow into work your way up, because if I'd have gone straight from that Burton Custom to my current board, I'd have hated it. And now when I go back to those small radius boards, and they just feel like kind of toys, or like they just don't feel right for what I'm doing anymore.
Right, because so you've basically grown into your own board. Like you went from a board you could buy off the shelf, and then over the years designing your own Donek, you've made it more aggressive. Like, so as it becomes stiffer, the side cut radius has become larger, and the width has gotten wider too. So has that been a gradual progression with all those elements?
Yep, pretty gradual for me. It's I hate when anyone basically wants my exact board, because it just isn't going to work for them. I've seen some people like Yuri Watts, the high level coach. He's gotten on my board and he absolutely ripped. It was like, oh my God, his turns look beautiful. But I've also seen my friend Andy. He's also a professional coach. We traded boards for a half of a run, and even though he has my model, he has specs way smaller than mine. So like he couldn't ride my board for shit. It's not, he wasn't used to that, what that width and larger side cut radius would feel like. So when I was so he wasn't used to it. So it just didn't work well for him. And when I was on his, even though it's my model, the specs were so different. It just felt too turny versus my big radius. I can do higher speed, big turns.
Nice. Yeah. So I guess advice for people out there is maybe start with something that you can pick up off the shelf? Or so in Donek, is there some boards that you can order off of them that are more towards intro to carving, or like, an advanced carver just could get into it?
Absolutely. They have basically most of their models are traditional specs.
Okay.
So like a Park, if you order a Park Twin, that's going to be a lot like any Park boards. It's going to be they make cambered boards for performance reasons. Some of the other Park riders could talk better about that, but a normal, if they're Park Twin and stuff, there's a lot of rippers on that. They're half pipe board, Taylor Gold. I mean, he won one of the X Games events this year on it. And there's this kid named Cam do you know Cam any chance? Australia or something? But no. There's a young on that, and he's just killing the game. I think he got third at the U.S. Open Junior Jam. But yeah, they make traditional boards too, and you can just move your way up as you get better and want different specs for the right reasons. So, but there's no reason to go into crazy specs unless you know why you want them. So.
Right. So like, that extra wide, so that when you get onto your edge deep on a carve, you're not going to catch your heel cup or your toes. And then that stiffness, just like when you're riding, you don't want your board to be chattering or like, so do you find that, like, is there a sweet spot with stiffness? Like this is kind of a funny question, but how would you rank the stiffness of your board, like 1 to 10?
The owner of Donek Snowboards calls mine a 12 out of 10 for a freestyle snowboard.
Nice.
But they also offer a soft version.
Okay.
And that's what we recommend. That's what we recommend to basically probably 90% of the riders, unless you're weigh a lot or are riding extremely aggressive, then the soft version is going to be much more friendlier.
Nice. With
my version, I can't just stand on my snowboard and stand nose press or tail press or anything. So if I was 16 years old and wanted to be jibbing at Buck Hill and Highland Hills in Minnesota on some boxes and stuff, it's not the perfect board for that. It's not perfect at all for that. So,
nice.
Depends what you want to do on it.
Is that where you got your start in snowboarding in Minnesota? Is that where you grew up?
Yeah, that's what I'm Minnesota, and
Nice.
I still get nostalgic about Minnesota so much because I've only gone back once. We ran a camp there with Chad Otterstrom and Matt Peterson, probably around the year 99 or 2000. But that it was like just my memory is just so good from there. Like every single night, you get done with school and you just go to the mountain, you go to the hill. And just high-speed laps with your friends on these tow ropes next to, like, at that point, they were pretty bad parks, but there was still a half pipe, and there was on one side of the tow rope at Buck Hill and a park on the other side, and you just lap all night long and, with your friends, and it was just like it's a scene that it just had a feeling that I've still never even been able to recapture in Colorado. Like Colorado, once I moved out here, wow, the parks and pipes, they were so amazing. My friend Kurt Ryan, Minnesota guy originally, he used to build the parks at Breck, and so we and I worked for him in building as one of the park crew guys back then. But oh man, the parks were just so much better. But there's something about that scene in Minnesota, just shred until I think 9 p.m. at one resort and 10 p.m. at Highland maybe, and just going all night long as soon as school would get out. So I definitely miss that aspect of it.
Wow. It was the same experience for me. I grew up near Toronto in Ontario, Canada, and it was all night snowboarding. So a lot of my riding was after school. And such an amazing atmosphere. I think the night riding really adds to the atmosphere where you just feel like you're in your own world on the hill and getting those quick laps with friends. And
Yep.
I feel like when you're younger too, like all those outside distractions just go away when you're up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just... it's the perfect kind of escape. Just go to the hill, and then you're not thinking about school or things or anything. You're just shredding and progressing quickly because of. Colorado. I wish some of the resorts had some high-speed tow ropes right next to their parks. You can put a mini park right next to a high-speed tow rope, and you'll see kids' progression on jumps and rails get so much faster. Breck, boom. Like if it's busy at all, you're getting one run every 20 minutes. If it's really busy, you're not even coming close to that. But that's 3 times you're maybe hitting the pipe in 1 hour. So the progression when you can ride a tow rope, that's maybe 60 seconds for that half pipe. Yeah, the progression. I'd love to see some of that kind of happen at bigger Western resorts. Just give an area, but with a high speed tow rope, that'd be so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I've actually never ridden like a tow rope that style, like the high speed and quick laps. But I think one example would be like that the High Cascade camp at Mount Hood. They've got the tow rope, so you can get the quick laps that way. But
Yeah,
at a smaller resort, Big Bear in California, they've got that top to bottom park, and so like you get off the chair. First thing you're hitting is a feature, and then they got features all the way down to the bottom of the chair, and then
yeah,
you hop back on. So having that experience is really key, and I can't even imagine not unstrapping your board, just keeping it on your feet the whole time, riding up to the tow rope, grabbing on
yeah.
and going. Yeah, that's why all those East Coast kids and what puts Minnesota in that area on the map as well for snowboarding. So that's amazing. How old
I
are
often, I often have the thought of like, why are so many of the best rail riders from the Midwest? And it really is. I think just because of those laps, hitting the same feature so many times in an hour that, you just make your adjustments and get that repetition to dial in those tricks and dial in that just hours and hours of being balanced on a rail in different ways. And yeah, it's
Wow. How old were you when you moved out to Colorado? And what were you doing at that time? Were you competing in snowboarding when you moved out?
yeah. So that's when I was super heavy into it.
Yep.
So um, yeah, the day I graduated high school, I just went straight to Mount Hood. I was riding for Burton at that time, and as a contract Burton rider, you could stay at the Burton House for I think a couple weeks or whatever, and they had sponsors for all the snowboard camps there: High Cascade, Windell's. Windell's is a skier camp now, I guess. But so I just moved and went there and asked Kenyon Robinson, or asked actually Chad Otterstrom. He's the guy that he knew who I was. We hadn't actually met yet. I knew was well aware of who he was, but we had some mutual friends. So as soon as I was at the Burton House and riding, you could ride the camps for free then because they were the sponsors. So then I just was like, hey, can I work for you guys? And they didn't have any openings at that point, but so I was riding their parks and stuff. And then at the end of the day, I'd help the park crew, and then eventually Kenyon Robinson. Now his name's Kenyon Salo, I guess. But so we're actually good racquetball friends and snowboarding friends here, over the years too. But so he was like, yeah, you're a good worker. You want a job? Some people have quit. You want a job? So the pay was crap, but I got to work at High Cascade for a summer, and I mean that was just a dream come true to snowboard every day during the summer. So, and that's
Wow.
exactly what I wanted at that point. It was kind of that was awesome.
Amazing. And then after that, you moved your way out to Colorado. Was that at the same time?
Yep. So simultaneously, then when I was probably in 10th or 11th grade, I kind of made a deal with all the friends that I snowboard with every day in Minnesota. We were all chatting and about where we wanted to move to continue our snowboarding as soon as we graduated high school. So some of them came out to Summit County. Like I said, they were already friends with Chad Otterstrom, Kurt Ryan, and a bunch of people who had already done this and moved out to Colorado and kind of made it as snowboarders. So we just followed in their footsteps. Summit County seemed like the perfect spot. Very long seasons. A-Basin opens early, stays open super late, and then within an hour range, you have Breckenridge, Keystone, Vail, Beaver Creek, Copper. You have just so many resorts all right there. So yeah, it's an incredible place to live, and I don't think I could move anywhere else now.
Wow. Yeah. It's an incredible spot. Yeah. Colorado, amazing state. Like the people are so friendly. And like you're saying, it's just, it's like a mecca for snow sports because you have like literally like a dozen places to ride within an hour drive. So that's incredible. And now you're in Breckenridge mainly. And like, a small fact about Breckenridge is actually where they where they filmed Dumb and Dumber. So it's a pretty cool little town there.
Yep.
Yeah. How do you like living in Breckenridge, and just how was this past season?
I love it. It just keeps getting busier and busier, but they keep adding more lifts and stuff. But
Nice.
I mean, I absolutely love all the resorts there. Like, there's not a resort that I can think of that I don't like.
Nice.
It's just too sweet of a spot, and so much access to so many different mountains. So even if you don't like, the Breckenridge, when most of my videos, I shoot first thing in the morning, so it looks empty, but it's a busy resort. But like when Kristen and I go over to Beaver Creek, it's just way less busier yet, and we just love that. It's a little bit of a drive, but like all the resorts are just so good out here. And the snow conditions, I mean, I grew up in Minnesota, just small icy hills with and I loved it then, and now I don't know if I could go back to Minnesota and love it like I used to love it.
Yeah, I guess like, when you're a kid and you're hitting those slopes, they feel huge. But now that you've been riding at these massive mountains, and you're also a much bigger person, and your board has gotten probably 10 times bigger since then too. So,
Yeah.
back east, or it'd be a few turns and you'd be at the bottom.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. But Ryan, man, yeah, it's awesome talking to you. Let's go into the questions, the Q&A part on everyone's in here on the live stream. Quick shout out to everybody watching the live feed. Thank you guys so much. After the interview, definitely go check out Ryan's snowboard channel and his foosball channel as well. I'll get the link for the foosball. But yeah, if you guys have any questions for Ryan, hit us up in the live chat. And big shout out for everyone for just tuning in and hanging out in this quarantine. This is for me, this is so much fun just to be chatting about snowboarding with Ryan. Yeah, shout out. Thanks, man, for hopping on too.
Yep.
All right, so we got Old Man Shredder with a comment. He says Knapton legend, and then he's shouting out his crew, #DWCP and #skate season. Have you done any skateboarding since snowboarding's been over?
Okay, so as soon as the quarantine hit, like I said, for the first couple weeks or 10 days or a couple weeks, I didn't do nothing. Like, I was just like, no. And then I was like, all right, it's time to get at it. So I'm doing daily walks or jogs, and P90X, and
Nice.
we're just getting intense with the workouts, because if you got your health, you can do pretty much anything. So I want to keep feeling younger on my snowboard versus older. So
Nice.
losing some weight a couple years ago absolutely helped. So but yeah, skating, that's the best crossover there is. And I haven't actually pulled up my skateboard this year. I have a normal street board that I take over to a park that has low rails and quarter pipes and stuff, and then I have a Carver skateboard that you literally just kind of pump. And last summer I got way into that, doing miles and miles a day, and it's not the exact same as carving a snowboard, that's for sure, but just any balancing like that, skateboarding, it's so prime for getting yourself in positions of balance and exploring how to stand on any board sport type things.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like I got into skateboarding pretty late in life, but once I got comfortable on a skateboard, I definitely felt that balance transfer over to snowboarding. So anyone out there who's bored and wants to do some kind of board sport, skateboarding is probably the best one that transfers the skills to snowboarding. But yeah, great question, Old Man Shredder. We also have Jose Bautista with the super chat. Says, hope all is well. Hi, Ryan. By the way, Mount Bachelor is going to be on the Icon Pass next season. Wow, that's pretty cool. Have you ever been down to Mount Bachelor in Oregon there?
Numerous times. You had a handful of contests there. And then I won USASA Nationals in 1996. So I was invited to train with the U.S. team there for a week in the spring of probably 97. And yes, I had a good friend, one of the Minnesota friends, who moved out there. So I stayed with him. And yeah, that was an incredible experience. I absolutely loved Mount Bachelor.
Nice.
And I had been, I'd also gone there for a snowboard camp, a hike-and-skate snowboard camp. They did a winter camp there back then.
Cool.
And Temple Cummings was my coach. I was so thrilled about that. And yeah, I love Mount Bachelor.
Awesome. I feel like Mount Bachelor like really suits your style as well because it's a very like carver friendly mountain. Would you agree? Like because it's got that volcano kind of shape where the runs are very consistent and long and wide. Did you find that it's a carver friendly mountain?
Okay, so this is so long ago that I was just a pure park rat at that point.
Okay.
So, even though I was working on my carving and was racing on a weekly basis in my normal snowboard setup,
Yeah.
I didn't know. I don't know what Mount Bachelor would feel
Okay.
like to me now. I just remember I really loved their half pipe, and their park was awesome, and then just their free riding around Temple, like knew the mountain pretty good, so he just showed us around the mountain, like in all over, and it was really cool.
That's awesome. I can't imagine you like it's so funny thinking, yeah, like back like 15, 20 years ago, you're a total park rat, but that's pretty cool. Yeah, we'll have to like actually check it out on Ryan's channel too, because you have some like old throwback snowboard videos from like freestyle parts as well, right? So people can
Yep.
find those. What was the name of that filming company that did some videos with you?
So the ones that are on YouTube, Pin Snowboard Films.
Yep.
So I've had video parts in I think every single one of those, and then the first couple AOD ones that Chad Otterstrom and a couple of our other friends were producing in those two. And then there's definitely some of those on YouTube, and I still have some that I just like was sent all the raw footage and would just have to go through and do. Or better yet, eventually I got to buy a VHS cassette player
Yeah.
and like get old VHS footage and edit that up, because I know I have some good stuff. It would have been awesome if we had like good cameras way back then, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. That's super nostalgic. We got no problem. Matal with the super chat says, learned so much from both you guys. Cheers. Awesome. Thank you, man. Yeah. Ryan's been putting out tons of killer tutorials, like, yeah, all the way through from not only the carving stuff, but yeah, tricks, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I feel like back in the day when when I was getting started and your channel was like in the first few years, it was kind of strange because I feel like we almost felt like we were competition for each other, putting out, tutorials or videos, but it's like now it's like now it's more just like a friendship, right? Like, did you feel the same way back in the day when we were both putting out tutorials?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, and you are so right on it. Now it just feels like a friendship,
Yeah.
and it's like, it's been an absolute pleasure making vids with you, TJ, David. And that's the way to think about it. I
Yeah.
mean, YouTube collaborations. If you want to do YouTube right, you have to collaborate with other riders too. And
Yep.
I'm so thankful that you've been willing to work with me and shoot me and the editing that you did on the last time we were at Breck together.
Yeah.
Oh man, like that was so much better than I'd put into the editing. So,
Oh man.
thank you.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, that was such a fun day. Like, I feel like we just had just a great time, like doing a couple. I think we filmed that in like maybe 2 laps, but it was so different for me too, because normally when you ride and film with somebody, you kind of feel out each other's rhythm. And I felt like I was just being thrown into the deep end, trying to keep up with you, trying to like read where you're going to be turning. But it was challenging for me, and it was a thrill to like attempt it. And I was just like, I was so happy that it turned out, because I just like appreciate what you do so much. So I wanted to share that. And yeah, just that was a fun day. We're gonna have to do that again. Like next season, I'm gonna come out for a few more days or like a week and just have a good time filming. And that was such a fun day, man. So that was cool. Let's see the next question. Shout out to everyone tuning in again and for leaving questions. If you guys can, give this video a like if you want to see more interviews with with Ryan and with other people too. We got NGen in the chat with the super chat, says hashtag shout out Dweek Camber podcast, and coming soon. So there's some of the OGs on the channel have started a podcast, so that's pretty cool. we're collaborating with each other, and then the people that check out the videos are also collaborating and doing videos and going on trips. So that's awesome. Alexander Georgiev with the super chat says, Ryan, go with Kevin to Japan. This will be very, very cool and interesting. RK and Japao. All the best to you both. Ryan, have you been to Japan before?
I've never been to Japan,
Oh,
but
wow.
I will absolutely join. I will absolutely join you guys someday.
Nice.
I'm not sure if it'll be the next one, but I would, if you're cool with it, I would love to join you guys on one of them eventually.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I know it's kind of funny because, yeah, the carving is totally your thing, and then there's also like, yeah, traveling is there's so many places to go, right? So it's tough to pick too, but man, yeah, Japan powder is something super special. So we'll definitely have to get in on it one day. Have you ridden much powder the last year, or do you stick mostly to the groomers?
All right, so the previous season, it was so much snow at Breckenridge. So
Oh
like
yeah.
Horseshoe Bowl, oh my God, like that is the T-bar is amazing. Horseshoe Bowl when it's perfect is so good. So I had so many POW days in a row where like I was just like all I did was release POW videos this week, so I won't even tape today. And
Yeah.
when it's good, boom, like Breck has some awesome terrain for it. Of course, they'll get tracked out pretty quick, especially if it's a weekend. But so 2 seasons ago, I rode so much powder, and then this last season, I was thinking about it just the other day. It was like, man, I had a couple good POW days, but yeah, this season I didn't have the epic POW. I had some decent days, but I didn't have the epic POW days that I had 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was still riding POW in May, so
Wow.
later than right now, and it would just kept on dumping, and like even if it was raining in town, it was dumping on top of the mountain. So this year just didn't work out in that same aspect.
Wow. Yeah, that's wild. I think the same thing for around Whistler. Like last season was a better powder season. This year was more dry. But yeah, we got super lucky this year with the Japan trip. As soon as we arrived, it was like, 40, 50 centimeter days. And yeah, you're always invited on any of those any trip. If you ever get a inkling to use your passport and break out of Dodge, just reach out, man. Yeah, you're always invited.
Cool.
And then NGen says, tell us a funny story. Do you have any funny stories from the years of snowboarding and competing, and just anything that comes to mind?
I have an insane amount. When we were on T-Bar, actually, I was telling you a story, and I remember you saying, you should share these stories on your YouTube channel. And I haven't been good about that, but here's something that just came to mind. In it was probably 97. As soon as I finished working at Mount Hood, at that time I was riding for an eyewear company, Mantra. I dropped Dragon, so this was a huge mistake. I dropped riding for Dragon. They were sending me so much cool stuff every day, but the Mantra guy talked me into riding for them. So we took a trip to Argentina to snowboard and do photo shoots and stuff. And okay, a couple good stories from this. Oh man, way too many good stuff. But the first thing that came to my mind was like backcountry. I'm not huge into backcountry. I've had numerous friends that have died in backcountry. I had met Craig Kelly at a dinner while I was at the Burton House. I knew Jamil Khan, and recently our friend Fritz, who I used to shoot pool with, passed in an avalanche. So avalanches scare the hell out of me. But I was with one of the team riders was an Olympic racer, and I just remember we had hiked like off the resort, pure like out of bounds, just hiked for what seemed miles and miles and miles. And I'm a Minnesota Park kid, so this is so far out of my realm. And we're at the top of this gnarly thing. We don't have transceivers. We don't have much less airbags, or we don't have like anything doing it right. Nothing. And it's this huge, untouched, gnarly slope. And he's like giving me the breakdown on like what to do if an avalanche starts and all this. And it was just like so sketchy to me. And I just wanted to teleport somewhere else. I didn't want it. like, and I was like, I'm not putting myself in this position anymore. Like, I was like, but yeah. So he was like, I'll go first. So he did his line and stuff, and then nothing slid. So then I went. But yeah, that's just
Wow.
out of my realm. But when I was like young and watching snowboard bits,
Yeah.
most of every part that was the big mountain stuff, I'd literally watch it the first time. I'd watch the video, and after that, I'd just fast forward it because like that wasn't even feasible or possible for me as a little kid in Minnesota riding the hills that we had. So that part didn't really entertain me at that point. When I watched like the Travis Rice films and stuff now, like I love watching it now, but it's still not a position that I want to put myself into.
Yeah, that's wild too, because you're also in a different country. So not only are you scaring yourself on top of a mountain on a slope, and you're also in a whole new country where there's not only unknown variables with what you're doing, but outside of snowboarding, if you get hurt, what happens? Yeah, avalanche. Like you don't even speak the language, so many complications there. But yeah, you rode out of that one.
No cell phones or anything
Wow.
either. So yeah, that's just a bad spot.
Wow. Okay, so that was. Do you remember where that was in Argentina?
I forget the resort, Las Lanas, maybe.
Okay.
I forget the name.
Yeah, Las Lanas could be that one. Yeah, cool, sick, man. Wow. Okay, so what was the name of the guy too that brought you up there? What was his name again?
I'll leave it at Adam H.
Adam H. Okay. Nice. Cool. Yeah, those times are the craziest. Those ones that you remember where you like are legit scared and those are the ones you remember for sure.
The next day I got a photo in a magazine from that though. Then we were we hiked a certain part right off the resort that was much safer.
Yep.
And if you ever want to get a photo in a magazine called POW photo, get called dropping first. So I called it while we were all hiking up, and then I hiked up like 30 feet past everyone else and just had a nice big POW turn. I'll find one of those old magazines and show the picture on my channel someday. But
nice.
That was my first I think that was kind of the only picture I had in a magazine.
That's awesome, man. That's so funny. You're park rat turned carving buttering machine, and your only photo is a POW photo. That's something else. Cool, man. So we got Cyper X with a question as well. Thanks for the support. He says, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you to both Ryan and Kevin. Literally learned how to snowboard from both of your vids. Was complete newbie in 2018. Now I'm hiking backcountry lines and laying down carves. That's so cool. Awesome, Cyper X. That's amazing.
I think that's the biggest reward for us, Kevin, right? I mean, just like knowing that people are taking away some valuable information to actually go out and try on the hill. That's the fun of snowboarding, just progressing. So, and if you don't know what to do next, there's so much resources now on everything, not just snowboarding, and just watch some YouTube and see who's made tutorials for it, and
because
go try it.
Because you can do both as well. Like, when I watch your videos, you got both. You have those instructional videos or tip videos, but then you also put out the edits with you just riding and like just inspiration and entertainment in that way too. So I feel like now, through YouTube, you can do it all. So yeah, that's it's super.
We just have to replace our outdoor faucet or our sprinkler thing or faucet thing, and boom, I had no idea how to do it. YouTube, 4 minutes later,
Nice.
Trip to Home Depot, and it was done.
Yep, that's the way to do it. All right, let's see. People are dropping all kinds of crazy stuff in the comments as well with potatoes. A lot of potatoes.
Whoa, Chad Otterstrom is in the chat.
No way.
Whoa. What's up, man?
Oh, so cool. Where's he at? I'm not seeing. I'll have to catch up. Oh yeah, Chad Otterstrom. Shout out, man. What another legend of snowboarding. He says
definitely one of my heroes of the game. I mean, the longevity he's had and everything that he's done with snowboarding. We were pipe diggers together at High Cascade. He already had a pro model years before that. he still has a pro model, and now he's one of the biggest backcountry guys, and then was winning, qualifiers for the Olympics, all while being one of the main Mac Dog filming guys. Dude, Chad Otterstrom, the man.
Chad saying, we hear you were in the 1997 Junior World Halfpipe Champ. Was that true? Were you the halfpipe champ in '97?
So I got to go to the Junior World Championships in '97 and '98. '97, I loved it was in Ruka, Finland, one of the best snowboarding trips I've ever had. It was an amazing halfpipe. My board didn't actually arrive until the night before the contest, so I was riding one of the girls who brought a small, I was riding one of her extra snowboards, so it was just terrible practice days. And then when my snowboarder actually arrived, I was crying, and contest was the next day. And then, I didn't win it, but here's what happened. I was in first place going into finals, 4 points ahead of everyone else, because I kind of, how I used to win a bunch of contests, I would open up my runs with 900s. So at that point, that was kind of a progressive, considered a progressive trick, and no one else, if they were doing it, they weren't doing it as good as me, and no one was doing it on the first hit of the pipe. So I went into the finals 4 points ahead of everyone else. The story is a bit embarrassing, but right before my first run, back then they were combined scores. So no matter how good one run was, if your other run wasn't as good, you could, if you had one fall, it could wipe you out. So
wow.
on my first run, right before the Finnish girl looked at me, and I forgot middle of my run. I stopped my 900, and then middle of the run, I literally forgot my run and just fell. And that's why I was not the Junior World Champion.
Wow.
But yeah, definitely could have been had I just done my same old. But whatever. And in hindsight, I'm super glad that I wasn't, because then I'd have been put into a position of having to snowboard in a certain, I don't know. It would be interesting to know where I'd have ended up had I won that contest. But because pretty much everyone who's ever wins Junior Worlds goes on to have pretty good careers. But I don't think I'd be doing YouTube and stuff. And I would much rather be doing what I'm doing now with it than just have had this glory and felt satisfied. Maybe I've never felt satisfied with how my career kind of went. So I just keep at it and still loving it more than ever. And
it's led you here to one of the, I feel like I was saying before, when I meet people, they always bring up your name. So influencing so many people. Even here in Whistler, I see people out with Donek's carving it up and mentioning that they want to carve and butter like you. So huge influence on snowboarding, man. And then Chad was also asking, when is Side Slip the movie Part 2 coming out?
Oh man, last year or 2 years ago, I fully filmed this thing to make the next Side Slip movie.
Yeah.
And then, but I had included a part where I needed to be on top of the mountain. And then sure enough, that day, lightning struck. So they closed the Imperial lift. And then the season kind of then they never actually opened that one again, or something that weird happened where I wasn't able to complete the video.
Okay.
And I don't think I could just go back in a different jacket and stuff and finish it now.
Right.
So I'll redo it. I want to make more of those. Thanks for watching the Side Slipping, Chad.
Yeah.
Hey, Chad Otterstrom, actually, on Instagram, this was last season. Yeah. He with some of our Minnesota friends. He was out there side slipping with Jake Weber, Jason Landry, some of the old OGs of the AOD.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. Shout out to Chad. What was some of your, I'm struggling to remember the names, but I used to love all those Mac Dog films. Were you a big fan of the Mac Dog videos back in the day?
Those are my absolute favorites.
Yeah.
The quality of snowboarding in those versus some other ones. I mean, you could watch some of the videos, to watch like what not to do, basically. Like the Mac Dog ones, that was the gold standard, and those ones were the ones that got me addicted to punk rock music and some of the bands that I still love.
Yep.
And yeah, those ones were awesome. Those were the best VHSs to frame by every good trick.
Awesome. Any like one video that you maybe wore out in your VCR, like one that was like your go-to that you watched way too much?
Stomping Grounds, Meltdown Project, Project 6. That's not a Mac Dog one, but yeah, there's some of the Kingpin ones.
Nice. Yeah, I was a huge fan of. I think I got into the Mac Dog films a little bit later, but Follow Me Around, I feel like that was my favorite, and Picture This was another great one. But yeah, lots of good memories of all those movies. Cool. Let's go for, who else is on here? We've got Old Man Shredder with another super chat, promoting his D-Week Camper podcast. Will be out soon. Yeah, we'll definitely have to check that one out. And yeah, man, so many questions. If anybody's rewatching this, definitely, if you have any questions for Ryan, you can hop over to his channel, leave some questions on his videos. Steve Johnson says, what I love about these guys' channels is the accessibility. So many opportunities to reach out and get feedback and actually have the chance to speak with them directly. Yeah. Have you had the chance to, I'm sure you get this all the time, but have you had some days where you've had the chance to ride with some people that check out your videos or given that direct feedback, like on the mountain? Does that happen to you like out at Breckenridge?
Yeah, that happens like every day.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah,
I've ridden with so many fans, and so many of them. Everyone's been awesome. So the only times I tried purposely not to ride with any fans, unless I already know you and my girlfriend knows you, then on the weekends I basically set that aside to only ride with her because that's just kind of our time together.
Yeah, definitely. It's when the girlfriend or the wife's out, then you gotta like have that personal time, but. Yeah, it's always awesome meeting fans of the channel. That's the best thing. And then once you have like faces to go with it, then when you're making the videos too, it's like easier. You kind of know who you're talking to. But yeah, let's cool. Let's go for one more question here. So many people in the chat. Again, thank you guys all for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like and subscribe here at Snowboard Pro Camp, and also subscribe over to Ryan Knapton. L Stacker, one of the OGs on the channel, says, is Ryan going to continue the ABCs of snowboarding? So what letter are you on now? And the goal is to get through to Z, right? So I guess that's going to pick back up next year.
The goal is to get to Z, and then I'm just going to repeat it. I'll just keep going. I'll keep that series going.
Nice.
I have a couple other ideas for some other series, but once the season ended, most of the filming that I do is usually actually during the spring, because like I said, other than spring break, that's the time when I can get the slopes empty to myself in the morning and be pretty productive, where when the resort's busy, it's just hard to do what I do. Like if we're filming in the park, Kevin, like, it's pretty easy to film a park line versus a carving line, because jump, what exactly the takeoff, the landing, and so where the rider's going. Where with the carving stuff, it can be harder. So I usually wait till the spring to film most of my stuff, but I'll absolutely be continuing the ABCs of snowboarding. And like I said, I also want to get back into making some of the projects that bring just laughs to myself, like the side slip movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like that's because when I first started watching your videos too, it was like pure carving, pure buttering, which was amazing. It was amazing to watch, and it was something new. It was something I had never seen on YouTube or in any of those like videos of the past. So it was such a unique thing. But then I can remember when you started talking to the camera, and it was like getting an insight into like the personality behind the carving and the buttering. And I think it's so cool the way that you add in the comedy with like this side slip movie. But you're like your sense of humor, but also your humbleness behind snowboarding as well, I think really makes it feel accessible to people watch and yeah, follow along with, because yeah, you have that such a you're a very personable, like approachable person. So yeah, I just wanted to say like, yeah, thank you for doing that. And yeah, again, everyone check out Ryan's videos. Have you always been this like humble, or like back in the day when you were a pro snowboarder, did you have a chip on your shoulder, or has that changed at all over the years?
No, I've always been kind of a shy person, and
Yep.
actually the snowboarding. I mean, that's how you just in my head when I was younger, I was just like, well, if you want to make a bunch of friends, just get really good at something, I guess. Because once I got good at snowboarding, then everyone wants to know you, and then still have a lot of those same friends from snowboarding. Buck Hill, mid '90s, are still some of my best friends. So
nice, man. Yeah, I was the same way when I was a kid. Like, I didn't do snowboarding to make friends, but I was definitely like I was a quiet person, quiet kid, and I never thought I would have a career where I was speaking and talking to people. So anyone out there watching this, if you're a young person, if you're shy, if you feel like, yeah, you don't have, it's tough to make friends, I feel like me and Ryan, we're good examples of, you stick with something and you follow your passions, and you can definitely, you grow out of those things, or you just get through them, even if they're uncomfortable sometimes.
with making videos and stuff, I mean, for both of us, I'm sure it just gets easier too. I mean, I remember trying to shoot my first tutorials on YouTube, and it was with the GoPro 2 with the case on. So like, here's an entire day of me shooting with audio, narration, and everything, and then none of it works because the darn case was on it. So, I mean, at least the technology is there for that, and that's kind of stuff too. But yeah, I know you were going a little other places with this too. But yeah, just go out and learn something new. And
yeah,
snowboarding, I mean, it's just inherently pretty darn fun.
Yeah,
even a bad snowboarding, unless you get hurt, snowboarding, even on, I still miss like icy mornings, spring mornings when it's almost glare, refrozen slush groomers. I love being first thing on the morning, even on those ice groomers, because I get to work on new things, slowing it down massively, and just thinking about ways of making, like explaining some things and working on some new skills. And
yeah, all that stuff is so amazing. One last question from Chuck Van, Super Chat says, "Thank you, Ryan. Your tips have helped me a lot. The people need the next side slip, the movie. Happy to hear it's coming. Hashtag getting weird. Hashtag WCTP and hashtag coming soon." Awesome. Yeah. Good way to leave it off. But yeah, thank you again, everyone, for joining in, for watching. Yeah, big thanks, Ryan, for hopping on here, man. It's been so fun to catch up and to talk to you.
It has been. Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we'll leave it there. If you guys want to see more videos like this, subscribe to Snowboard Pro Camp. The link to Ryan's channel is below. And yeah, I hope everyone is staying safe out there. And yeah, man, we'll have to jump on here again in a few months and get all caught up.
I'd love to.
Awesome.
Stay safe, everyone.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Ryan. We'll see you guys next time.